The showdown to end all showdowns. Well, it probably won't be the last time we see an epic fight, no pun intended. But Fortnite's events always have a way of blowing our minds. Although a lot of players were so busy watching the chaos of the Mechadogus vs. Caddis go down that they didn't pick up on some pretty cool Easter eggs and secrets in-game. But don't worry, we here at TheGamer have your back. So without further ado, here are 10 Fortnite secrets you might have missed in Monster vs. Robot. Connected events. The story behind the Battle Royale live events have been hard to follow at times, sure. But that doesn't mean they haven't all been connected. In fact, elements of this legendary robot and monster battle were only made possible by events 3 seasons ago. It's true. There's no need to be a scholar to understand it all. We're gonna break it down in very simple terms. Now, we all likely know about the Cube, aka Kevin. As he traveled around the map at precisely 1 rotation every hour and 47 minutes, he eventually ended up in the sky floating above Loot Lake. Now you're probably wondering what this all has to do with giant fighting creatures. Well, after exploding, a piece of the cube ended up in Loot Lake and subsequently had a vault built around it. Seemingly random encounters that would eventually pay off. Players who explored inside found a power orb within, but right as they did, the map's volcano exploded. Which is the king of all distractions, so when the robot punched into this vault, some players might have forgotten all about the contents within. The orb's power was utilized to take down the monster, and we were treated to a Fortnite-style Pacific Rim sequel that we all deserved. But without that mysterious Cube Kevin from 3 seasons ago, the robot would have certainly been defeated. It just goes to show that you need a keen eye to keep up with everything Fortnite throws at you. Cavity search. Okay, we admit this entry's title is a bit misleading, but we'll explain pretty quickly. Cavities can mean a lot of things, but in this case we're referring to teeth. Yes, you can stop panicking. On the map where the skeleton now lies, you might not be aware, but you can actually harvest the teeth of the once great monster. But doing this would end up putting you out in the wide open area, so we wouldn't personally recommend it. But if you find yourself low on mats with no other recourse, why not play dentist and start chipping away on those teeth? Use the stone to protect yourself in your fortress of dental care. Hey, we didn't say every secret would be revolutionary. Map changes. So yes, you're right, not much happened on this front. The obvious changes were massive skeletons on the map, of course, and the new orb that was just touched on. Both courtesy of our friend the robot, by the way. But what you might not have noticed was an addition by subtraction. The monster did end up taking out a location that you may not have noticed, mainly because you were too focused on a green blast shooting out of its hideous mouth. Or that creepy flesh. Or how about that scary eye? Lots of nightmare fuel here, let's just agree on that, shall we? But anyways, while the monster was emerging from the lake, it managed to do some damage as well. We officially give a rest in peace to Lazy Lagoon's pirate camp. We hardly knew ya. Now there's only a floor where the camp once stood. We think it's a pretty good thing that the robot hero won, or there would have been a lot more map destruction. True goals. Yes, we just mentioned a lot of destruction by the monster, but could it be that it was just all collateral damage? Watching the event, it seemed as if the monster's actions were random at first. We see the talk, start throwing fists, and before you know it, we have a massive Godzilla-style battle on our hands. Many people were so distracted by the fight they didn't even realize that this was happening right in front of them. This monster wasn't just trying to take down the map for no reason, it had a beacon on the most powerful item there, the orb. This sphere of power was beneath the Loot Lake vault, and before the action starts, you can tell that this monster knew what it was doing. Which begs the question, how smart was this thing? We really shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but that was one hideous cover. It seems like the battle being fought was a lot more important than we could have imagined. And because of this, look for the sphere to play a lot more of a prominent role in Fortnite moving forward. We hate to imagine what the monster would have done had it gotten a hold of the power, but we doubt it would have been fine and dandy. But luckily the robot was victorious, which ultimately made the biggest change on the map the skeleton of the monster itself. Ironic. Monster Vision. This entry not only acknowledges the monster's intelligence, but also something more. Stick with us here. The same sphere we've mentioned time and time again was the sphere that could be seen during the unvaulting event. You know, the event where you get to vote on which of your favorite items to bring back? Some players have reported being able to see that very same monster make an appearance during this prior event. Well, the monster's eye, at least. If you look at the right angle, you can see what appears to be the monster's one horrible eye with the pillars you used to vote. We'll let you decide if you can see it or not, but if we all just agree it was there for a moment, it brings up an entirely new chilling layer. This means that the monster had some sort of supernatural power that allowed it to keep an eye on the prize the entire time. This somehow makes both the sphere and the monster that much more powerful. Everything new we find out about the monster makes the victory over it all the more impressive. In plain sight. Now this is a little hard to notice at first, and no, it's not another small location change. We're talking about a possible addition in the next season that was originally seen way back in Season 7. Okay, it hasn't been that long, but still, it's exciting. Is the suspense killing you? Sorry, we don't mean to be dramatic, but it looks like Fortnite is going to re-add planes into the mix. Here's how you can tell. Simply look at the current Fortnite map and zoom in to where the planes normally spawn. If you squint just a little, you should be able to make out the outline of those storm wings. Pretty cool, right? They're a little hidden, but Epic Games loves to hide stuff on their map. In plain sight. No, you're not seeing double. The last entry was about hidden planes, and this is about map secrets hidden in plain sight. See what we did there? Anyways, Epic Games sure likes to hide stuff in Fortnite. Whether it be battle stars, buried treasure, or those elusive llamas, jumping into a game of hide-and-seek with items is nothing new for this immensely popular game. Which is why we shouldn't have been that surprised when they hid yet another item in plain sight during the monster vs. robot fight. After a few sneaky moves that gave our robot friend a temporary advantage, it reached out toward Neo Tilted. And lo and behold, it grabbed onto the statue in the middle of the lake. Was it planning on admiring the design? Maybe taking up a class or two on sculpting? Of course not, this statue had been a sword the entire time. Now, you might be asking your screen, yeah, that's pretty cool and all, but how could we have possibly known that? It's just a statue. Well, you already knew. We have an answer for you. Right before the fight, the statue got blue lights at the bottom, which signified something interesting was about to happen. But after it was pulled out of its resting place was when we really got a good look at the surprise. The lake itself had been in the shape of a sword the entire time. You can see the walkway looks like the grooves of the hilt, and the water looks like the blade. That sneaky robot had a sword underneath the entire time, and honestly, they kept the secret well hidden. Props to Epic. Singularity. We've briefly touched on the intricate story of Fortnite, but let's go in a little bit deeper with this one. This Easter egg actually combines story with practical hints for the event, and it was easy to miss unless you are habitual note takers. And just a little advice, taking notes while playing a match is a very good way to end up with an embarrassing loss. Do not recommend. Anyways, the secret skin during Season 9 was Singularity, who's revealed to be the mastermind between the robot and the source of the statue's power. Oh, and did we forget to mention, she is actually the person the statue is modeled after. Basically, she's a celebrity in Fortnite on the same level of Kim Kardashian in real life, but without the plastic surgery that we know of. But I digress. You can actually find versions of her helmet all over the map once she's been unlocked, but the locations of those helmets were what were so special. Let's list them off. One can be found in the Pressure Planet where the robot was made, another can be found in Polar Peaks where the monster originated. After this, you can find helmets in Loot Lake where the orb was grabbed by the robot, and next to the statue where the sword was grabbed. And finally, you can find the fifth helmet on the final resting place of the defeated monster skeleton. It's actually pretty cool to have so much backstory that eventually leads back to the statue and the sword itself. Singularity for the win. The sword's source. Speaking of the sword's location, how about the sword itself? It's obviously an incredibly powerful tool. It was used as the final blow against the monster Caddis. And if you remember from an earlier entry, the orb was a vital step in defeating the monster as well. So what, if anything, do they have in common? Well, the orb was able to be used because of the cube Kevin, and so was the sword. If you freeze your screen when the mecha grabs and swings it, you'll see it's made up of the same purple hue from the cube. This means that the same elements of the mysterious cube exist in this new weapon. So that means that while Neo Tilted was being built, the power of the cube was hard at work energizing the sword and giving it its ability to destroy the monster. Seasons of build-up are exactly why players keep coming back again and again to Fortnite. Cracking up. Our final entry is purely speculative, but there is a lot of evidence to back it up. We've made no attempt to underplay the importance of the sphere in this video, and that's certainly by design. We know that the robot likely didn't want to use the sphere, but it was the only option left in an attempt to stop the vicious monster. But while absorbing its power and ultimately saving us all, the robot also cracked the sphere. And in the days since the event, the cracks keep getting worse and worse. Now what does this mean? The sphere wasn't kept hidden underground and protected by a robot for no reason. Some fans predict that the sphere itself will completely crack, unleashing a power that the map isn't prepared for, and ultimately destroy everything. That would leave us with a truly post-apocalyptic look. But to be fair, we've seen doom and gloom predicted in the past, only to be thrown for a loop at the last minute. We believe the sphere's power is actually something a bit more entertaining. Time travel. We know you're probably tired of it after watching Endgame go down, but it wouldn't be the first time Fortnite used Marvel ideas. Hey Thanos! We predict the sphere to explode and use all of its infinite power of space and time to send the map into the distant future or past. Could we actually see real dinosaurs this time? Who knows? Could we end up with a future version of the map? It's a real possibility. No matter what happens, it's safe to say that Fortnite will keep surprising us. And don't count out the robot reappearing in the future too. Just because he blasted off into the sky doesn't mean that we won't see a new and improved robot to fight for us again in the future. And where'd he go anyways? He was made right here on this map, so living out the rest of his days in space kind of makes no sense. We predict he'll get tired of floating aimlessly and back sooner than you think. Until we meet again. Well, that's the end of this video. What do you think? Did you already figure out all of our entries? Were you surprised more locations weren't destroyed? Let us know down in the comments section. If you like this video, feel free to give it a like or a comment below. We're now releasing new videos every couple days, and if you don't want to miss out, subscribing is the best way to see them first. Thanks for watching.